Hey everybody, thank you for joining on Microsoft, on podcast, the On Microsoft podcast, the only podcast from Microsoft that talks about Microsoft as many times as we can say on and podcast as well.
Never
But
enough times for ons. We love
no,
the ons.
I think we're at seven. Like I said, by mid-season we should be at like 20. But yeah, I'm your co-host, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined with the world's greatest co-host.
Or if Bacchus.
Yeah, and we're here for another week packed full of information, news, rumors, hopes, dreams, all centered around Microsoft products and services. With no further ado, we will kind of jump into what we're going to be talking about today. I'll let you start off the laundry list of things we're going to be talking about.
So the biggest news of them all is perhaps we could have a Surface event in a few weeks, and there are a lot of rumors floating around out there. I mean, we've been talking about this for probably 4 or 5 podcasts now about Surface Laptop 4, but looks like we could see some other things other than a Surface Laptop 4 at the next Surface Spring event. So that'll be our first topic, and then our second topic relates to Xbox because hey, we haven't been talking about Xbox recently, and it's Bethesda finally joining Microsoft. Everything became official, and I'll let you lead on with the balance of the topics for the show.
Yeah, followed by, we're getting close to build. So Microsoft officially marked it as, what is, I believe it's the first week of May, or is it the last week of May?
Nothing has been official just
Oh, it's not
yet.
even official yet, but they earmarked it for May.
Yeah, yeah.
So we at least know the month. Nor I think the last year they pushed it up and almost had it at the like end of March, beginning of April. They're going back to their old May areas. So we'll talk about some rumors, what we'd like to see it build, what they should be talking about at build, and probably what they will talk about at build. Followed by the next topic, which is probably what they'll be talking about at build anyway, inadvertently, is ChromeOS, which turned 10 years old. I know this is a Microsoft podcast, but it's super important that we talk about Chrome OS in the context of Windows 10, Windows 10X in particular, what's been borrowed, what we'd like to see on Windows 10, what Chrome is doing successfully, and where they failed. And just getting kind of the minutia of it. We have some varying opinions, both Arif and myself. So stay tuned for that if you're a Chrome fan or if you're a Windows fan. Team Windows right here, so side with me.
And then we have our week ahead segment where there's a lot of stuff that we have planned at on Microsoft next week. If you're a reader of the site, which we hope you are, that you don't just watch us, that you also read us, you might have noticed that we had a big redesign, and we're planning to speak to the web designer who did that redesign for us and for our editor in chief, Kip. She'll be on the show with us next week, so keep your eyes peeled. And also, we have a special giveaway coming up next week too to celebrate the site redesign. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And we have a couple of pieces planned, a couple of reviews. Ubico reached out to us, and they make YubiKeys, which are for enterprise and also for consumers. And we had a chance to sit down with Ubico's Chief Solutions Officer, Jared Chung. And so look out for that next week too. And now I'll let you get into the news aspect of what we expect to come up next week.
Yeah, like we said, we'll be talking about some of the rumors for upcoming events. Some of that will probably trickle out into features and services updates throughout the week. One of the bigger things that we've been reporting on in particular as of recent is the Microsoft versus Google, which is kind of splashed across news headlines, especially late as of late last week. We'll get into the specifics of it, but uh, the competition has heated back up. Kind of they went into kind of a Cold War slash angsty partnership, and it seems like the knives are out again. So we'll be talking about that, and I believe I have some review stuff that we'll be talking about. But either way, we also have Chrome stuff to follow
Yeah.
up with our conversation. We also have some hardware to back up our opinions. So be on the lookout for that on the site as well.
Well, we're a Microsoft podcast, so let's get into the Microsoft news first, which is the Surface Spring event rumors. I know you're an avid fan of the Surface lineup. You have your Surface Pro 7 Plus review coming, but there's rumors out there about a possible event coming up, right?
Yeah, as you said, I'm a Surface fan. I do own a Surface Go 2. I have your old Surface laptop 3, 15-inch. I've been testing out the Surface Pro 7. Plus, I have a Surface Book that I use for work. Like, I'm a Surface fan. And so maybe we'll start to, based on these rumors, start to see some more Surface devices in particular come out and some refreshes that we've been long planning. More specifically, Microsoft is planning various, we've said that they've been planning various digital events throughout the year. I believe that we should be having an Xbox One pretty soon. That said is rumored for March 23rd. But a Surface event is also in the cards for this spring. The spring, I think, lasts until what, like June 22nd or something like that. So it may not be just next month, but it's coming. Where Microsoft is expected to announce the new Surface Laptop 4 alongside some other accessories. So maybe we get some refreshes to the earbuds. Maybe we get some new headphones. I believe I don't think we're going to get any news about the Duo just yet, but those are some of the accessories that we're thinking about. One of the bigger things that's been rumored and kind of piques everyone's interest is a new Microsoft Surface Edition webcam. I know that they made a webcam back in
2006,
2006.
the live cam, which you could
Right.
actually still buy today if you want it.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought they stopped selling it in
No, no,
2010,
it's
but yeah.
still available.
Okay. And that's based on a report that we got from Brad Sams, who, he has probably better sources than we do at the moment. We'd like to, anybody who'd like to talk to us from Microsoft, please reach out. We'd love to have you as a contact. This new webcam can include a privacy cover, which has been a big selling point for Lenovo, the Think Shutter thing, so you can like manually close it. And you don't have to worry about people seeing your lower half when you get up from a meeting. Um, it's supposed to support HDR video. It may also come with a 4K sensor, 4K sensor support as well. According to the report, Microsoft could also use the Spring Service event to announce some new audio accessories, like we mentioned, headphones, even dedicated conference pucks. That's kind of a new thing in home offices. You get yourself a microphone about the size of a flattened out Google Home Mini or something like that. So that could be something. And if they put in, all of the audio stuff that they do for their headphones and earbuds, it could be a big selling point for people.
they
Marcus, go ahead.
they've been working on webcams for a while. I think I read in Brad Sams's report, he was talking about how they had webcams planned since 2019. I believe if you look at the Surface Hub 2S and Surface Hub 2 promotion videos, you'd see that little webcam that's atop the monitor.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't think that's what they're specifically planning to reveal, but we do know that based on what he thinks, that this is something that they've been working on for a while, and Panos has mentioned webcams before too. So it's something that they've been planning for a while, and what a better time to reveal a webcam than during a global pandemic.
Yeah, and for that webcam, which I think it's a great option. Even the one that for the Surface Hub, which I believe is magnetic, so it can kind of be positioned uh, anywhere along the outside border of that, even as it turns. So that's just good to keep in mind. So people don't have to buy a mount or buy a stand particularly. But we are also hearing rumors that it could come in at around $100. What I was going to say is, and this is my last bit on that, is that I know we got rid of the Connect, but I do
Right.
believe for anybody who is interested in streaming, I know a lot of Twitch users and stuff like that already use GoPros and maybe a Sony some version of a camera. But if you're just thinking about getting into it now, this could be a really big selling point for the Xbox Series X as well, to have that same webcam, if it's Bluetooth enabled or Wi-Fi supported, to be not only your work camera but you're also streaming camera and a new way to kind of interact with your friends and stuff. Even though we don't, the Xbox doesn't come with a Connect anymore, dedicated camera, and for any apps that make use of that in the home. So maybe we get a Facebook portal app on the Xbox, and you can start to support that. You can have big conference videos through the Xbox on your in your living room, stuff like that. As I think this webcam has huge potential.
It's also interesting because we do know that they have the what is it, their new Xbox headset coming out. So you mentioned it being used for gaming. So interesting timing there, and a nice little thesis or theory you have there.
Yeah, I would love it to be true. The other thing that we have that's even probably bigger and more substantial for people, at least in the immediate, is the Surface Laptop 4. I mean, it's coming, We don't know when it's coming or what it's coming with or how it's going to be designed, but it will be. It's probably more concrete than our webcam rumors. They will have to put out a Surface 4 laptop at some point. We we wrote about
The
AMD
Geek the
chipsets.
Geekbench. You wrote about the Geekbench leak
I
of
just got to
two.
bring up the mistake, don't you? We mistakenly followed a report about a Geekbench, which I believe said that they potentially would come with an AMD, the most recent AMD 5000, I believe it is.
The Ryzen 5000 chips, but that's not what they're going with because this is Microsoft, right?
Yeah. However, now it appears Microsoft is doing what it always, and is what I wrote, seems to kind of do is they're kind of taking a step back, um, using a more mature chipset, which I believe is the Ryzen 5 468U or the Ryzen 7 498U. Surface Edition chips, so some additional silicon has been put into this to kind of make it a partnership for Microsoft, and I'm assuming it's some GPU to make the Windows experience seem a little smoother and faster. But yeah, they're doing what we hope they wouldn't do, which is be Surface cautious. That's what I'm starting to use. That it's my new term. Surface cautious means they're using a chipset from the previous year or the current year, nothing future leaning. But I mean, ideally, they do this to squeeze the best performance out of it, make sure all the drivers are updated and supported for this. I know that they got burned. I forget which lake it was for Intel, but about 3 years ago they used one, and it just we had the hot bag situation. We had the constant on things. It was a bad look for Surface.
So it's nice to see that they are being cautious and going with older generation chips. But even though they are older, I think these chips that they're rumored to be using have 6 cores instead of 3, or is it
Yes.
2 cores on the previous Surface Laptop 3 chips? So it would be an improvement
Oh yeah,
nonetheless. So
it's going to be an improvement. It's
it's not something that's disappointing per se.
no, it was. I believe it was mostly in the GPU that
Right.
people were leaning towards and hoping for. The GPUs in the 468U are, I'd say, based on the Geekbench again, tests, are about 15 to 20% more improved. Where the latest ones were showing even larger leaps. So that's why everyone's kind of leaning towards that. But again, it's going to be a nice device when and if it comes out.
It's like something we've talking about for like since the year started, so it's coming for sure.
Yeah, well, which is funny because we get the Surface Pro 7
Seven
Plus,
plus.
which is their flagship, device. It's the first computer they actually made, and it kind of landed quietly. I mean, I think it's an amazing device, but everyone wants that clamshell form factor right now, so they're looking for an updated version, especially something that they can show their M1 friends, their Apple M1 friends.
Well, you mentioned Apple, but we're still staying here on Microsoft because it's a Microsoft podcast,
I tried to trip them up, folks. I tried to trip them up.
and the big news this week is Bethesda has finally officially joined Microsoft. You may remember a couple of podcasts ago where we talked about the rumors of them being acquired by Microsoft, and now all the paperwork and all the red tape has finally been cut, and it's official. And Microsoft has finally completed its acquisition of ZeniMax Media, which is the parent company of Bethesda Softworks. So now, with acquiring Bethesda, Microsoft now owns 8 more talented video game studios, including Bethesda, ID Software, Machine Games, Arkane Studios, and all of these games are now coming to Xbox Game Pass, which is a pretty big deal. And just to be clear, it doesn't mean that you're not going to see Bethesda games on other consoles. The head of Xbox reiterated that Bethesda will continue to operate independently of Microsoft while still benefiting from Microsoft's resources. His quote was, "We look forward to empowering Bethesda's creative teams to reach even more players around the world, helping make Bethesda titles the biggest and most popular games in their history." And he added that they would have more to share later this year. But Microsoft also hosted a special roundtable with Bethesda, and it was centered around their company joining Xbox. And at that roundtable, we had a couple of announcements of which Bethesda games will be coming to Xbox Game Pass starting tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, well, starting this week. where after the announcement has occurred, our writer Laurent, he covered it, and he's like, these are some good games for PC gamers, as 19 of the games will be playable with Xbox Game Pass for PC, with the only exception being Fallout New Vegas. So again, this is adding more value to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for people who have an Xbox and also have a Windows 10 PC capable of running these titles. We'll have the full list in the comments if you're interested in knowing which titles you'll be able to play. But it's what you expect: Dishonored, Doom, The Elder Scrolls, Fallout 4, Fallout, Rage, Wolfenstein, the whole shebang. They're all coming now to Xbox Game Pass. So yeah, it's pretty big, boosting up Microsoft's gaming library, especially because people complained that, hey, Xbox Series X and Series S have no real games.
Yeah, I believe late last week, our editor in chief and myself got into a conversation about, and I believe Laurent was there as well. So those of you who have Xbox specific questions or theories and like that, please reach out to him. He's really well versed about that. But my theory was is that Bethesda doesn't, or Microsoft owned now, Bethesda doesn't necessarily cut off or make exclusive. Um, Games only to their platform. I believe their new play, and again, I'm saying it here now. This is You're going to hear it here first. So you can go tell your friends um, that they're going to lock it to Game Pass, and they're going to allow Game Pass to be played or used on PlayStation 5 or in the PlayStation Network. So you will be able to, just like you do with EA or Activision, you'll be able to take $5, maybe seven. I don't know. I'm saying anywhere from $5 to $10, get a Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass, be part of the Xbox Live network, but play on your PlayStation. You'll be able to play these games, any Bethesda games, anything that's exclusive to Xbox Game Pass, not the consoles, on your PlayStation for day in one. So what ends up happening is next generation. It doesn't matter if you have a PlayStation or if you have an Xbox. As long as you have Xbox Game Pass, you'll be able to play all the games or as many games as you can. I mean, sans any PlayStation 4 exclusives. So going forward, again, this is sort of like their idea for Netflix is it doesn't matter if you own a smart TV or if you have a laptop or if you have a smartphone, as long as you have Netflix and you have an account. So I believe that's how they're going to get around the exclusivity of having Bethesda game while keeping gamers happy and allowing everyone to be able to play.
That is a wild theory that you have there, and I accept it. But you know what? What also was a wild theory? Microsoft has not officially announced Build 2021 yet,
Segway!
but but our friend Walking Cat, who likes to look for all of these Microsoft images and videos and leak them out and be the first to report these breaking stories. He has a sizzle video, which many people believe apparently revealed the date for Microsoft's Build Developer Conference.
Yeah, and this is a real starts with an ode to Microsoft's resilience in response to the global pandemic. When it comes to pivoting to these virtual events, it goes on to reveal a very quick slideshow of some dates of upcoming events captured in the screenshot, which is, I believe, where we pulled this rumor out of. Is that it's a placeholder. Walking Cat mentions that this is a placeholder, so he doesn't want to be credited with saying this is the date when it isn't, even though Microsoft isn't saying much about it. We do believe that it could be happening around May 25th through the 27th. And there could be another version, another date for an event called Ready It that happens between July 21st, 22nd, and a follow-up, Ignite 2B, on October 13th or 14th. These are all pulled from that screenshot. So again, think of it as a placeholder, but it does say May 25th through 27th, which again kind of coincides with Microsoft going back to its old build time, which I believe is right around that chunk of time for Google I/O, WWDC, which I believe is the 1st of June. So they're trying to make sure that they're back in there, and because they aren't restricted by having people come in person and hosting or booking hotels and showrooms and things like that. They can be very nimble on these. So again, could be subject to change, but keep your eye on May at some point in May.
So what will they talk about? Will it be like Windows 10X and Sun Valley and like Android and Windows finally merging together as one, which we'll kind of talk about when we get into Chrome OS segment. But what do you expect?
What I expect is, and I wrote about this just recently. They're shuttering their business store apps, the Microsoft Store for Business, the Microsoft Store for Education. They just sent out a note telling everybody who or developers who made anything there admin ITs who issued I believe it's Active Exchange credentials for access there, that by April 16th, I believe it is, that none of that's really going to work, and they're probably going to have it fully shut down by the beginning of summer. Uh, I said all that to say this is that they need to have a cohesive story for their app development platform. UWP is quickly losing pieces here and there that would have made it substantial. We know that they've been pivoting or talking about PWAs as well. So I believe at this build, they need to figure out who is going to be developing for the Microsoft Store, how they're going to make money for the Microsoft Store, and what the actual 5 year, not like, oh, this is our new platform, we bought a bunch of tools and services to support it, and then next year drop it. What is their 5 year plan for app development? If it's going to be PWAs, they need to come really hard with, this is how we make it feel native, this is how it's going to work with our new vision of Windows, and that's going to be it for the next 3 to 5 years. And so developers have, kind of a substantial footing in that. If it's not going to be PWAs, if they're still going to be dragging out UWPs, they got to really hone in on why anybody wants to make that, even though I don't believe anybody's there for it. So unify the store. So, education, stuff like that is still a big thing. You can get stuff there. Talk about PWAs big time. And hopefully, and I know because they spent the last 2 or 3 builds talking about Azure and machine learning and all stuff, we get some actual Windows information, some visuals on Windows, some new things that they're willing to experiment and try in Windows to keep up with, as you said, getting in our next topic,
Sun
Chrome
Valley,
OS.
Sun
Oh,
Valley.
well,
Yeah,
Sun Valley, yes.
hopefully they talk about Sun Valley by then.
Yeah, they need to. That's
Right.
bottom line is we can't be like, oh, surprise, Sun Valley's here in October. Like they need to say that this is what you guys can expect. Developers, make sure your apps look like this so it looks cohesive, because that's another thing that Apple does really well with theirs is they tell developers, this is what our OS looks like. Make your
But
apps look similar to it.
but I totally destroyed the segue that you were going for right there.
You ran it over with the truck.
Into Chrome OS, but this is what we hope to be a very juicy section because I published a piece earlier this week comparing Chrome OS tablet mode to Windows 10 tablet mode, and it got a lot of discussion, and the comments were pretty high before we switched over to the new team, and they all got deleted or lost in space. But anyway,
Lost, deleted. Mm-hmm.
Chrome OS turned 10 this past week, and Google announced a lot of new features for Chrome OS as part of that celebration. They announced a Phone Hub, this new thing in the Chrome OS shelf where you could pin your files, which everyone apparently seems to hate. They announced like a new media control thing in the shelf where you could pin your controls and get access to playing songs more easily. I tweeted about that last night. There's a lot of fun stuff in Chrome OS, and I said in the Teams chat that we have on Microsoft that, hey, in 10 years, Chrome OS went a very far way from just being something that's just a web browser to being a completely different operating system with features that are now competing with Mac OS and that are now competing with even Windows 10 itself, because I believe you were the one that wrote the story that said that Chrome OS overtake Mac as the most popular operating system. So now I'm opening it up for you to have this great debate. Which is better, Chrome OS or Windows 10?
Windows 10. Now we can moving on. No. I say that again as a fan of Windows, but also as a realist and someone who's played with and used Chrome OS, used Android tablets as well. I know not to mix the two because they are very different, but
Yeah.
They do represent a vision, from Google on the eventual merging of the two. So we'll stick with Chrome OS for now. But I just, I'll be having a review for my Lenovo C13, I believe, which is the Chromebook, enterprise Chromebook. And it's supposed to be the most professional version of a Chromebook, the most closely aligned with Windows and Mac OS. And I feel that it's lacking. I do give it credit for coming a long way in 10 years, but I also want to make sure that people see this from a 30,000 foot view. That my opinion is that everyone's kind of given Chrome a pass for the last 10 years. Every year they keep saying it's kind of like the Linux thing, like, oh, this is the year Chrome OS becomes professional, or that'll mean for this is the time the president finally acts presidential. Like this is every year they keep saying that this is going to happen, and everyone runs out. They try out all the new features, they test it out, and then they for most reviewers and most professionals, they put it away and they go get their old laptops and they do the cycle again next year. So I'm glad that it's turned 10 years old. It has matured just from the browser coming up, and now they do windowing and they do better file management and things like that. Like it's pretty awesome. But I do think in their rush to like kind of mimic all these things that they're just following in some of the old paradigms without really innovating on them. So as you mentioned, like one of our longest conversation about this was the phone hub feature.
Right.
Um, I was very hesitant for your phone. Like I didn't see any value in it at first, and I may be doing the same thing with Chrome OS and its phone hub. But people were rushing to kind of compare the two, and from my personal view, they're nothing alike. What Phone Hub does in Chrome OS is basically mirror a few things that are happening on your phone that you can't organize or control yourself. Like you can't show what you want to see on there. Like messages will come up, and then tabs from previous browsing. But if you want to see like what was the last app that I was using, what was the where was I at in this particular thing on the OS of the phone, you don't get that. Your phone, Microsoft sort of started off that same way, and it's built into a whole robust thing where you're app mirroring and you're making phone calls, and it's just added a bunch of things to it. So as of right now, Phone Hub not there. Your phone much better. What do you think about it?
I mean, I use an iPhone as my daily phone,
Oh,
but
so you're out of this conversation.
but I do have a side Android phone that I like to test apps on, and it's pretty nice to see that Google is trying to bring Android and Chrome OS closer together. I mean, you could already run like every app that you have on your Android phone on
That
your
was my argument. Yeah.
Chromebook, but sometimes, as you and I were talking about, they're not necessarily catered for a big screen. I know you tried the Lenovo Duet, which is what 10.2 inches, but I have the the Pixel Slate, and this screen is massive at 12.2 inches, and sometimes apps don't scale right, or they're tiny text, or they're catered for desktop basically. But you could split screen them and make them look like phone apps, but even then it's still not great. So I think what Google is trying to do is just try to get people a reason to buy a Chromebook even more, because hey, they'll market it as, hey, Chrome OS now plays nice with your Android phone in the same way that iMessage and Apple is doing with what they have with iPhones and Mac OS and iPad and Mac OS and the watch and Mac OS, and having a whole ecosystem. And it's something that people on Reddit, on the Chrome OS sub that I frequent, they always complain about how Google has Android and Google has Chrome OS, and they don't play nice together. Like your phone doesn't really play nice with your computer. So to me, it doesn't really. It's like taking a big step forward and trying to like merge all of Google's products into one central thing that so that they all play nice together, and you buy an entire ecosystem of Google devices and have them all.
Yeah, and I can see the logic behind that. I mean, it's worked well for Apple. What I was saying about watching Chrome over the last 10 years kind of pick up desktop features from other operating systems, I feel like, and I've mentioned this before, that they are going to be making the same sort of pitfalls without thinking
All right.
long term for this. Because I mean, the idea of having a Chromebook and having this underlying platform Android on there to have access to your apps, you don't really need like your phone, or you don't need it to play the same way that Apple does
Right.
with
Yeah.
with Mac OS, because iOS and Mac OS, at least until last year, were kind of wholly different things. iPad OS was different than Mac OS, so you needed your phone to play nicely in order to get some of that synergy. So iMessage worked, across the board. Google already has a messaging app. Like they have the
Right.
same messaging app that you use on your phone. If you're not using Samsung, which is the other issue that Chrome OS, Android have, is that they have this third ecosystem that kind of plays with all of their stuff as well. That kind of messes things up. Apple doesn't have that.
You'll have
Um,
like four different apps to do the same thing, like how I know I told you this when we were chatting, how Microsoft has the Skype UWP and then the Skype Win32 app. So you have two Skype apps on your desktop and you get double notifications for everything. And it'll probably end up to be, like you were saying, the same thing with Chrome OS with the phone hub, which they're hoping to like evolve it and make being able to mirror your Android phone over to your Chromebook. So it'll probably end up the same way where you'll have like, oh, you'll get the ping for Google Messages for on your phone, then you'll get the ping for Google Messages on Chrome OS itself, and then you'll get the ping while you're mirroring your phone itself, and then you have three messages in one message, and it's like, hey, I heard you like messages, so I put messages in your messages in your messages.
so you can message me about your messages. Yeah, it's ridiculous, and that's why I'm saying like and again, Google's apparently Achilles' heels is messaging anyway, so I don't expect a lot from them, but they need to think about this kind of stuff. And the same thing I would say for Microsoft, like the reason why your phone exists is because they don't have that same connection
Right.
to a smartphone operating system. So for anybody who's at work like myself and you don't feel like picking up your phone constantly to look at messages, they built your phone, which makes sense. For Google, who already has a messaging app that you can have on your desktop in Chrome OS from Android, you can pull that same messaging app and get your notifications the same exact way. Why do you need your phone now pinging you about a message? Like you have the full blown app that has your archive history and has all you pull up GIFs and you can pull up emojis and emoticons, all that kind of stuff in the app. Like you can't do that with this your phone thing, but yet they're building it for what reason? To mirror your Android phone that has all the same apps that your Chrome OS system has in full blown, abilities. Like it just it to me that's where I'm saying like they saw that your phone was something big on Windows, and
On
they're always
Windows.
they're always quick to be like, oh, Windows did something, let's do it, and we can do it
Yeah.
better, without thinking it through. Like they don't need this, they don't need your phone because every single app doesn't need to be mirrored. They can literally run natively on Chrome OS, like where Windows Phone or Windows 10 can't do that. So they needed a bridge, and they started testing with Samsung, which is the bigger vendor. But eventually, hopefully, I have a Pixel, and most of that stuff works. So this is where I'm saying, like, I think Chrome has been given a pass where people are saying, "Oh, I would like this feature, I would like this thing, I would like this thing," without thinking like this is supposed to be a whole new operating system. It's supposed to operate differently, and now they're pulling in, file management, which is something people, bemoaned at first, but if you know what you're doing, it's very useful. Like, just think through how this is supposed to be different and new versus, oh, we'll just keep picking up features from the two big platforms and bring it into ours, and hopefully, because we have the numbers, people will just adopt it. I mean, it seems to be working for them in education, and I think that's two parts, not the operating system itself, but mostly the platform for education and the price tag of the devices themselves.
Hey, I mean, the way I see it is, hey, if Microsoft is doing something good, let's just copy and paste it and make our own version of it. Because if you look at Windows 10X, which is what I argued in my post comparing Windows 10 tablet mode to Chrome OS tablet mode, Microsoft is basically copying and pasting Chrome OS and then adding their own touches of it. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like I argued in my post, the Chrome OS tablet mode is very good, but it takes a lot of cues from what Microsoft has done in Windows 8 and Windows 8.1, where with the gestures and the swiping and the pull up to see your apps and all the navigation. It's pretty fluent. So I think that Google is just trying to make Chrome OS into Windows 10.
Yeah, and Windows 10 is trying to make itself into Chrome OS, which is just weird, like, you know, worm eating its tail situation where they're just kind of chasing each other going around in circles. So we'll see which one lands. Again, I will have my Chromebook review, which is supposed to be the enterprise version of a Chromebook. I don't know why you need an enterprise. I feel like there's no way to really differentiate Chrome OS the same way that you do with Windows, where you have a home and a different version. Because I mean, the admin access to the admin credentials, stuff like that, are all the same, I believe, for every Chromebook. So if you get an education one and you get an enterprise one, I believe you're really only measuring the I/O essentially on it. Like, do you get an HDMI port or do you get a USB-C port? Like, that's really your pro versus consumer, because the apps are the same, the operating system seems to be the same. The only difference is maybe Pro has a fan that runs louder.
All right. So with that said, I think we got through all of our big topics of the day, which means it's time for the week ahead. And for the week ahead, we're keeping an eye on another Microsoft versus Google story, which I know you wrote about this week.
Yeah, I mean, I just love following the drama. Yeah, I believe it's was it Brad Smith, and I forget the gentleman from Google's name. I apologize, but they had a exchange of words via blog post. I believe Brad started off the morning on Friday talking, or sowing the seeds for the antitrust investigation that Google's about to go into, and also piggybacking on their recent negotiations with the Australian media about how they license and publish information gathered from journalists, local journalists within the area. I believe they had threatened, just like Facebook, to leave Australia, New Zealand in particular, if they were really wanting to enforce these new licensing standards there. At the last hour, I believe they finally came up with a negotiation. They are now paying them, which, rightly everyone should. Facebook bounced, and they are now coming back. Australia's not coming back to the table because they saw a lot of traffic leave. But Google's doing the right thing, I believe, in this. I believe their fear in all of this, though, is now it opens them up to the same sort of situations in Europe and in North America eventually, if people catch on. So they want to kind of nip this in the bud. Microsoft, on the other hand, decided to raise their hand and say, hey, look what Google's doing. And not only is it bad that they're, sort of not paying journalists for their news, but they're forcing any journalist who does hop on their platform to use all of their other services. Like, they have to, use all these other things in order to publish on there. And it's kind of a lock-in situation, the same way that we kind of always point the finger at Apple for lock-in. Google's doing it for journalists. And so Microsoft raised a flag on that. And I believe a few hours later, Google said, hey, Microsoft, shut your mouth. You have your own issues. And I believe this gentleman who wrote this blog post wrote it starting off about their support for journalists and what their plans are, and how they've dedicated $1 billion initiative to already start paying journalists, and protect them from losing any more jobs because of certain things. But in the middle of all of that, they had this kind of left turn where they targeted Microsoft and started talking about how Microsoft needs to shut their mouth and worry about their own SolarWinds involvement, the Exchange server issues. I believe they call it the Great Email hack or break or something like that Microsoft's going through, and that they're using this as like kind of a bold opportunity to kind of shoehorn competition. They brought up sentiments of screwable. They're saying that Microsoft's going back to their old ways of kind of undercutting competition by bad mouthing them, and so he went on this whole tirade about that, and then followed up with, "Don't be distracted by Microsoft. Just trust us. We are supporting journalists." That's also being written on the back of Google a couple weeks ago, issuing questions to a subcommittee about about the investigation into SolarWinds and Microsoft's involvement, what they plan to do with it going forward, how they're going to protect people, how this even happened. Google was whispering in the subcommittee members' ears on the questions to ask, to kind of get leverage over Microsoft, to kind of paint them in a not a particularly good light about some of their exploits in this particular thing. So both are lobbying for position. One's lobbying currently to kind of take over in um, markets targeted by Google's anti-competitive nature, especially towards journalists. Microsoft's willing to be there and kind of say that they'll pick up the slack. Google's lobbying to show how weak Microsoft's email service can be, especially in light of it being attacked by several nation states in the last few months or so. So, it just seems like again, I was mentioning earlier that there's this, they had kind of a Cold War slash like, begrudging partnership going on for PWAs, for working on this new Android and Duo project and stuff like that. They were working together, but now it seems like the gloves are off and they're back at it, sort of, circa 2009 again.
It's like they're playing good on the consumer side, but then when it comes to news and enterprise, they're having war.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, again, this is also not the only front that Microsoft's again on. I've been slacking on my writing about or keeping up with the Jedi contract, but it looks like, and I have to finish up this piece, that they may be about to lose that as well. They've been in
Oh boy.
a war of words with Amazon over the last year and a half, as Amazon's kind of fought to get a review of this, a re-review, even though Microsoft was granted the Jedi contract. And it seems like after almost a year and a few months that they're about to get this re-review. So, not to say that Microsoft doesn't win it again, but they're about to basically start over. So we'll see. Microsoft's already started to kind of tout and position their existing contracts with them and talk about how those are very fruitful for them. So it already seems like they're just kind of positioning and readying themselves for not getting this contract. Not to say Amazon will get it, but again, Microsoft's fighting on a bunch of different fronts, and very heated as of recent. So we'll see how Satya Nadella navigates that, because I feel like this is Ballmer's kind of thing. Like, he loved to kind of fight and get into it, and he was pretty decent at it. I don't know. It seems like the Tibetan version of Satya Nadella. I don't know if he's got the claws and the fangs to fight these kind of wars.
You mentioned the SolarWinds hack there in your when you were talking about the Microsoft versus Google thing, and one thing that we got to talk with Yubico about is how companies are staying safe.
Segway.
How companies are staying safe during keeping their devices safe and keeping their employees safe during a global pandemic. And we had a chance to talk with Jared Chung, who is Yubico's chief solutions officer, about this. And they also sent me over some YubiKeys for review. So that's coming up in the week ahead. And I want you to keep an eye out for that special piece. Two pieces. One on how you yourself, the consumer, could use YubiKey in your life. And then if you happen to be part of an enterprise or you own a small business, how YubiKey can fit in with enterprise and small business.
Yeah,
That's
we have that, and then we also have, like we said, we have some hardware stuff that kind of dovetails into our ChromeOS debate that we were just mentioning. So, like I said, I should have my Lenovo C13 Chromebook review up next week. I'll be finishing up my finally the Surface Pro 7 Plus review, which is basically a reading of a bunch of tests and things that just to kind of see exactly the minute differences in the two. We also will be having what else are we talking about next week? I think that should be it for me for hardware. Oh, I actually got a device.
ooh.
It's a conference dedicated monitor that you can kind of I don't know if it's about this tall. It was given to me, and I will give you some details about that next week to kind of see if people will start using those versus these $99 webcams that Microsoft could be coming up with. This is a Teams enabled. I believe Google Hangouts as well supported on this. So this is for people who are looking for something a little more robust or at least more dedicated than just a typical webcam.
I also forgot to mention that I do have another review from Aki coming up. This one is their Link PD Pro USB-C hub, which is a little nice and little compact USB-C hub that has its nice little holster that you could put in your pocket or put it in your bag and travel with it and expand the ports on your Surface or any other device that only comes with USB-C. So keep an eye out for that as well.
Yeah, the hardware boys are going to be busy at work next week.
Yeah, and that said, I think that is our last topic that is the last thing that we wanted to talk about. Oh, we completely forgot to tease our special guest that's coming up next week.
I'll let you do it. You're the one to bring this person in. It's awesome.
Yeah. Our editor in chief, Kip, was working with a web designer on the big redesign of On Microsoft. So we invited her. We will be inviting her to chat with us on the On podcast about the things she uses in web design. She'll tell us her story. Just like when we had Richard Hay on a few weeks ago, it's always good to talk with new people and hear their story because, hey, you never know what you could learn.
Yeah, for those of you who are aspiring web developers, interested in web development, need a web developer, stay tuned.
Yeah, and I'll lead you for the traditional outro.
Yeah, like I said, you know where to find me. I want everyone to stay safe. We are getting closer to being a new normal, and I'd love to all see you there then. So wear a mask, and we'll see you next week with more information.
Thanks for watching and see you again next week. Same place, same time.